Welcome back. So today we're going to start with standing postures. So to begin with, just get nice and centered, steady, well balanced on both feet. Lift up the toes, broaden the toes, and then gently place them down. They're lightly resting into the mat. The four corners of the feet are pressing into the floor. And from that strong foundation, you're lifting up out of your feet. Roll your shoulders back and down, lifting up the chest. You're broadening your rib crest, but you're not thrusting it forward. Broadening your collarbones. Feel the shoulder blades snugly moving in towards your front body and down your back. Gently retract your chin just a little. Feel well balanced between the inner and outer edges of both feet. Grounded into the four corners and reaching up with the crown of the head, being aware of how you're feeling in your body. Soften the knees a little so that they're not, the back of the knees aren't held in like a hyperextension type state. Soften the knees a little. Now close the blinds so that hopefully my guard dog, Poodle Jasper, doesn't go barking all the way through it. So apologies in advance if he does react to what he feels is threatening to the safety of our family, our home. He's a good boy, aren't you, Jasper? Okay, so you're centered, steady on the feet, tall with your posture, breath flowing freely. Just be aware of each and every breath. And taking a nice deep breath in, right down into your belly. And at the same time, you're raising the arms up toward the ceiling. And the breath out, take the arms back alongside your body. And again, breathing in, nice deep breath in. Pause for a brief held in breath in. The breath out. Keep the knees soft. Breathing in, nice deep breath in. This time, hold a little bit longer if you can. If you can't take your gaze up, keep your gaze forward. And the breath out. This time we'll lift up the toes. So exhale, and the heels, sorry. Breathing in, lifting up your heels. If your balance isn't suitable, if you can't balance, then just doing it with the heels on the floor. So when you raise the arms up, make sure you keep the shoulders down. Keep space between your shoulders and your ears. And on your out breath, releasing the heels and the arms. That's if you've lifted the heels. Breathing in, lifting your heels. This time if you can, breathe and hold. And on your out breath, letting go. Pause for a moment. And then just do a little jiggle. Do that anytime you need to, just a little jiggle. And now we're going to take it into a forward bend. Bend your knees as generously as you need. So exhale and breathing in, reaching up. And on your out breath, bend your knees, especially the first one, nice and deeply. Dive forward and down. Fingers or hands onto the shins or the fingers or hands to the floor, and just relax your neck and head. Arms can just hang loosely. And just nod yes with your head a few times, no with your head a few times. Wriggle your shoulders. You might even sway your torso a little bit left, right. Just nice and gently. Opening up the body, warming the body. Now come into what's generally called halfway pose. I call it gazing pose because that's what, when I learnt yoga many years ago, it was called the gazing pose. So draw the belly in, lengthen the breastbone away, shoulders away from the ears, and again, your legs may be bent here, and you could even have your hands on your thighs. If you're straightening the legs, remember, keep a bit of softness in your knees. And then gently fold forward on your next out breath, hanging loose. Relax your neck and head again. Nod yes with your head, no with your head. Wriggle your shoulders. You might even hold your opposite elbow with your arm for a few breaths. Let the weight of your arms help to open up all the back body Remember, have the legs bent as much as you need. Don't take the weight too far back on your heels, nor too far forward on your toes. Feel the weight evenly distributed. Let the arms just hang loose again. Press firmly into your feet, exhale. Draw the belly in, rolling up, and then breathing in, coming all the way up, rolling your shoulders back and down. Back into mountain pose, dynamic stillness, body and breath awareness. Face relaxed, shoulders down away from your ears. Take your hands now onto your buttocks. I find if you have it up high, the shoulders tend to creep up, so have it a little bit lower so your shoulders always stay down away from your ears. And do a slight pelvic tuck and press your hips just ever so slightly forward. And lift up your chest. Draw the elbows back. Remember, shoulders are away from your ears. You may only be standing up a little bit straighter and taking the elbows back. Whatever you're able to achieve, lift up the thoracic part of the spine, this area between the shoulder blades. Feel it's being lifted up, your heart lifting up. Your gaze can be slightly forward, a little bit up, but watch you're not stressing the back of your neck. Press down into your feet, exhale. Navel is still in toward the spine and breathing in, coming up to standing. And again, pause for several breaths here. And then we'll take it a step further. Come a little bit more to the front of your mat. And exhale as completely as you can, grounding into your feet and breathing in, either just coming to raised arm pose or adding the back bend. On your out breath, bend the knees as generously as you need until you're ready to deepen into the forward bend with your legs a little bit straighter if that's available to you. Pause for a breath or two again. Now with your hands beside the feet, legs bent as much as you need, walk your feet back and stretch into the dog pose. Spread your fingers long and wide and push the floor away. Rotate the soft parts of your elbows a little bit towards the front of edge of your mat. Draw the lower belly in and up, navel in toward the spine. Now if you tighten your hamstrings and you're rounding your back because of that, then bend your knees as much as you need. First of all, get that length in your spine. Lower the knees to the floor. Inhale, depress your spine, move your chest forward, looking forward or up. On your out breath, unfold your toes and exhale, bottom back to the heels. Pause here for several breaths with your hips moving back towards your heels. Coming up onto hands and knees, navel in towards spine, in tabletop position. Now step your right foot forward between your hands. If you can't get it forward in one big step, grab hold of your ankle, help yourself forward. Ideally in between your hands or even a little bit further, walk the foot a little bit further forward so that when you lunge forward into your deepest lunge, your knee is above your ankle, knee is in line with the centre of the foot. You can be on your fingertips if that's not too strong, or you might be on your fists if you need that little bit of support. If you're tight in your hip flexors, you might be in a more of a kneeling position. Whatever feels right for you, listening to your body. And we'll just hold and breathe and feel that you're sending the breath down into your hip flexor region. That area becomes very tight because it's used for walking, for sitting, for cycling, running. And then gently come back either into table position or if you're okay with it, into the dog pose. You might even do a little walk here where you're lifting up the opposite heel as you're stretching the other one back. Or you might enjoy holding it steady and still. Lower the knees to the floor. Take your left foot forward and you might walk it forward a little bit depending on what sort of lunge you're able to achieve. But check the knee is above the ankle, knee in line with the centre of the foot. That's to protect your joints. Lift up your chest. Your shoulders are down. Navel in toward the spine. Face relaxed. And then you'll either gently come back into table position or again into the dog pose, exhale. Shoulders away from the ears. If you're very flexible in your spine, you may find you're hyperextending the spine. You don't want that either. Zip up your lower belly if you feel you're dipping in your back. The arms are beside your ears. Push the floor away with your hands, pressing. Your fingers are wide, you're pressing into the fingers, the palms. Lower the knees to the floor. With the bottom on the heels, take your bottom, with your toes tucked under, take your bottom back to the heels and slide your hands away. Your hands as wide as your shoulders, or even a little bit wider. And swan pose down. Unfold toes, elbows hugging ribs, fold down your thighs, your hips, your chest, your chin. Here now coming into Sphinx pose. Elbows underneath your shoulders, lengthen the legs out of your hips, lengthen the tailbone towards your heels, move your chest forward and lengthen the distance between your elbows and your shoulders, and lengthen the distance between your elbows and your wrists, and your gaze is forward. As you can see, it looks like a Sphinx. Now, if this is too strong for you, an alternative which is maybe more suitable to you is your elbows on the floor, cradling the head in your hands in a variation of crocodile pose. So crocodile pose, if you're there, you'll still be getting a little bit of a back bend, but it's not as strong as in the Sphinx pose. Opening the chest. Strengthening back body, increasing spinal flexibility, beautiful stretch to the pelvic and abdominal region. And then lower yourself down and take your hands beside your chest. Spread your fingers long and wide, elbows in against your ribs. Exhale, press down evenly into your fingers and hands. And inhale, come up onto hands and knees, and exhale, stretch back into what I call devotional pose. And you might sway your hips from side to side a little bit. Coming into tabletop, and open your knees, toes together, and with the toes touching if possible, knees a little bit wider, stretch your hands away, move your hips back. Alternatively, remember, you can always, if the blood flow to the head feels too strong, one fist on top of the other, resting on your forehead on a double fist. I'm getting very strange looks from my dog Jasper. He thinks I'm a bit weird talking to nobody. Well, I'm talking to you, but he doesn't know that. Now we'll walk the hands a little bit to the right. See if you can get your right arm in line with your right knee. If you can't, no matter. Your arms are parallel with your shoulders, and imagine somebody's come along and put their hand on your left hip and they're pressing it back. Doesn't matter if the head doesn't reach the floor. Just feel that somebody's come along and they're pressing that left hip back. Breathe. For anyone who is okay with the stronger stretch, walk the fingers of your left hand towards the right hand. You might even be able to take your left hand on top of the right as you encourage that left shoulder down. Keep that left hip down. Breathe into the beautiful opening you're creating on that left side. And then gently come back to the centre. You stay centred for a breath or two. Walk to the left. Your goal, if you're okay with it, is your left arm in line with that left knee that's outward. It would depend how wide your knees are as well, how far to the left you're going. And again, imagine somebody's pressing down that right hip back. Just always work nice and slow, no strain. Breathe. Remember, the breath is a gauge on how you're doing. If you're finding you're holding the breath or struggling to breathe, take the effort down a notch. Again, you might walk that right hand across a little bit, right hand on top of the left, perhaps if that's available to you for a stronger stretch, listening to your body. Enjoy what you're doing. Enjoy the stretching and opening of your body, and then gently make your way back to the centre. Pause for a moment, centred. Gently bring yourself back up into all fours, tabletop position, and back into the dog pose. Pause for several breaths here. Shoulders away from your ears. Push the floor away with your hands. Remember, if you need to, the knees, you can be bent at the knees and more on the balls of the feet. Walk your feet to your hands. And coming into fingertips to the floor, drawing the belly in, breastbone lengthened away, looking forward in gazing pose. Legs may be bent here, or they could be on the shins, but don't lock your knees, keep a bit of softness in your knees, and then folding forward into like a ragdoll movement, arms hanging loose. Again, you might do a little sway with your torso, nod yes with your head, no with your head. And to come up, exhale, press down into your feet, draw the belly in, begin the journey up. And when you're about halfway up, breathing in. Reaching up, you might do a little back bend, or you might just reach up. And on your out breath, as you release. And again, pausing in mountain pose, body and breath awareness. And then, if you've moved back on your mat a little bit, come forward again, and we'll make our way down again. So, exhale and breathing in, either raised arm pose or adding the back bend. Exhale, diving forward and down. Remember, bending the knees as little as much as you need. Gazing pose, inhale. Exhale, forward bend. Hands beside your feet, bend the knees as much as you need, and walk your feet back into the dog pose. Exhale. Inhale, knees to the floor, depress your spine, move your chest forward and up, unfold toes. Exhale, bottom back to the heels into devotional pose. At any time, rest back here, relaxing your wrists at any time if you need to. Coming into table position, and take a big step forward with your right foot. Walk the foot forward a little bit, whatever you're able to achieve. You might still be working on your kneeling lunge, or now tuck the toes under and straighten that back leg, but don't lift up the hips. Sink the hips down, press into that right foot, the four corners of the feet, and engage your front right thigh. Press your quadricep, the front thigh, in towards the back thigh. Stretch that left heel back, or remember you're in a more of a kneeling position or kneeling lunge. Lengthen the breastbone away, shoulders away from your ears. Your gaze isn't up, it's a little bit forward. Keep the back of the neck long. Breathe. Feel strong. Lower the knee to the floor. Into tabletop. Step your left foot forward, walk it forward. Either stay kneeling or kneeling lunge, or now into runner's lunge. And again, focus on that left foot, pressing into that left foot. The hips aren't lifted, sink down with your hips. As in the kneeling lunge, knee above the ankle, knee in line with the centre of the foot. Stretch that right heel back. Press your quadricep into the back thigh. Tailbone lengthening towards that extended heel, the right heel. Lower the knee to the floor. Into tabletop, inhale, and tuck the toes under, exhale with the toes tucked under, bottom onto your heels. Or as close to the heels as they can. Look up and check your hands are as wide as your shoulders or a little bit wider so that you can fold down. And breathing in, move your hips forward, unfold toes, exhale, swan pose down. Now your hands beside your chest, elbows against your ribs, lengthen the heels away from your hips, tops of the feet onto the floor, and firmly but not too firmly press the tops of the feet into the floor and zip up your lower belly a little, draw the navel in toward the spine. Now exhale and breathing in, lifting up the upper body, but you're not using arms. Lift your hands to make sure you're not using the arms. You may not lift very high, that's fine. And then releasing. Twice more, breathing in, lifting up the upper body. Shoulders away from your ears, back of the neck long. Lift your hands to make sure you're not using them. Hands to the floor and gently releasing. One more time, breathing in and hold and breathe. Lift your hands perhaps to make sure. Return the hands to the floor and gently release. Pause for recovery breath there. And now exhale and breathing in, press up onto hands and knees. Slide the hands until the bottom comes to the heels. Pause for a few breaths here. And back into table position, taking in a breath. Exhale into the dog pose. And if you're okay with it, holding for a few breaths here. Nice, calm, steady, full breaths. Now walk your feet to your hands and inhale into gazing pose. As you exhale, fold forward, bend your knees and sit back, and on your next in-breath, take your arms forward, away and up, and look down, and we're in chair pose. Now we don't want the knees to go way forward, so sit back as if you're sitting back on the chair. Your arms could be here if that's better for you. Try not to be doing this. Always keeping the chest open, navel in toward the spine. When you look down, you should still be able to see your toes. And again, always knees tracking in line with the centre of your feet. And the arms not moving up out of your shoulder sockets. Draw the arms into the shoulder sockets. It's a tough one. Lift your toes. The weight's a little bit more back on your heels. Exhale, press down into the feet. Breathing in, reaching up, a little back bend if that's available to you. And on your out breath, letting go. And just pause in mountain pose. Nice tall posture, grounding into the four corners of the feet, and from that strong solid base, you're reaching up, lengthening up. Step your feet as wide as you feel comfortable, feet facing forward or even slightly inward, and press into the little toe side of your feet so that the ankle aren't pronating, rolling in. Tailbone lengthens down, navel in toward the spine, chest lifted, roll your shoulders back and down. Now slide your left hand down the outside of the left leg and take your hand up into the waist. And if you had a shoulder issue, you could just stay here or take the arm to whatever is suitable. It might be here, or it might be at like 12 o'clock or arm toward the ear. Don't collapse that left leg. Keep pressing into the little toe side of the foot. Breathe, rotating so you're not dropping down to right shoulder above left. Press down into your feet, exhale, and breathing in to reach up. Exhale to release. Slide your right hand down the outside of the right leg. Keep the left shoulder above the right, and if you can, take the arm out and up to whatever level is suitable, and you might be able to take the arm toward the ear. Again, no dropping of the head. Keep the neck a natural extension of the spine. The legs are strong. Breathe your... If your neck allows you to take your gaze to look upward. Return the head to the centre gently. Exhale, press into your feet and breathing in to come up. And now on your next in-breath, lift up your chest. And on your out-breath, slide your hands down your legs to wherever they reach. Might be your shins, might be your ankles. Now if you can, fingers or hands to the floor. If you've got a block at home, you could put a block here or a stack of books to press into the floor. If you wish to, if it's too strong and you want to take your hands to the floor, the other option is open your knees, but don't let the knees roll in. You'll know the knees are rolling in if the ankles are collapsing, arches are collapsing. Now turn the fingers of your left hand towards the toes of your right foot and press into that hand. Draw the belly in, lengthen the breastbone away and take your right hand either onto your hip or onto your sacrum or your tailbone region, depending on how much of a twist you can achieve. The breastbone is lengthened away and roll your right shoulder up and back as far as you can without strain. If the neck allows, you're looking up, keep pressing into that left hand, or it might be a fist if that works better for you. And then if you can, reach up with the fingers of your right hand up toward the ceiling. After holding for a few calm, steady, full breaths, take your right hand to the floor, stretching forward and away with your chest. Draw the belly in toward the spine, fingers of your right hand towards your left foot. Take your left hand onto your left hip or onto the tailbone region. You're not twisting your legs or hips. The rotation is from your waist up. And if you can, taking that left shoulder up and back. The neck allows, looking upward. Keep pressing into that right hand. You might reach up with the fingers of the left hand if that's suitable for you. Hold for a few breaths here if you're okay with holding. And then gently releasing, taking the hands to the floor. And here, for anyone who can stretch more deeply, you can bend at the elbows. Relax your neck and head. Hold for a few breaths there. Come back to the right angle position with the torso if you were able to stretch further. I'm suggesting today the way we'll come up is where you're going to bend at the knees. Make sure the knees move outward. Take your right hand onto your right thigh, your left hand onto your left thigh. Draw the belly in, press into your feet and coming up in that way. And then walk your heels and toes in if you can, or come back into mountain pose in whatever way you're able to. And once again, pause for several breaths there. Come to the back, more towards the back of your mat now. And again, nice tall posture. And exhale, and breathing in, take your arms around and up. You might add that little back bend. On your out breath, diving forward and down, bending the legs if you need to, as generously as you need. Remember, don't hyperextend the knees, keep a bit of softness in them. Pause for a few breaths here. Here you might just let your arms hang loose. An alternative always when doing the forward bend is you could, especially if you've got back issues or anything, you might find an alternative that works for you. Is your elbows are on your thighs, you might have your hands in prayer gesture or interlaced or whatever feels okay, and you're still keeping your shoulders away from your ears and the breastbone lengthened here. And just making sure that feels okay. Otherwise, your arms are relaxing in a rag doll. You might have your arms folded. Some of you might want to, when coming to this point, interlace your fingers behind the back and raise your arms up and back as far as they'll go in that manner. Whatever way you wish to express this pose today. Now with the hands on the floor, walk your hands away. You could either come into dog pose or tabletop or coming into plank pose. Now, and in plank, the shoulders are above your wrists. And here, spread your shoulder blades away from your spine and press into your fingertips, into your hands. The back of the neck is a natural extension of your spine, and really draw the navel up in toward the spine. Breathe. And hold for a few more breaths if you can. And then lower the knees to the floor. Unfold your toes. Take your bottom back to the heels or as close to the heels as you can. Here you might choose to open up your knees and place your elbows on the floor, cradle the head in the hands, or you might place one fist on top of the other, resting your forehead on the double fist, relaxing your hips and your back, whatever way you choose. Or you might take the arms by your legs, palms faced up beside your feet, forehead to the floor, and just take a few breaths here, letting go into child pose. And then slowly, slowly come up to sitting. And taking your legs out in front. Pull the flesh of the buttocks out from behind you so you're sitting up nice and tall, or alternatively, remember if you're collapsing when you're sitting, to always put a bit of a support underneath your seat, a folded towel or rolled up towel, just to help you to sit up nice and tall into the rod pose or staff pose, also known. Now bending at your heels, at your knees, sorry, and then breathing in, reaching up, and breathing out, move forward from your hips, move forward with your chest, take your hands onto your legs wherever they reach, and keep your chest lifted. Now if you can, slide your right leg away, and then slide your left leg away. If you need to keep the legs bent, then keep them bent as much as you need. Putting another rolled up towel or blanket under your knees can be helpful if you're really tight in your hamstrings. You might be further back here. Remember, keep your chest lifted, shoulders away from your ears. You're moving forward from your hips. You're moving forward with your chest. When you get to a 45-degree angle or more, that's when you can round your upper back a little bit and fold forward. But if you're quite stiff and tight, be content with staying further back or with the legs bent, and work on getting that action from your hips. And then coming all the way up. It's a really good stretch for the hamstrings, for your lower back, good for all the internal organs. And then come to rolling down onto your mat. Pause for a moment as you let the back just relax down into the support of the earth. And with your arms out at a V or a T, your feet together or hip width apart if that feels better, just do a few windshield wipes with your knees from side to side. In time with your breath, exhale as your knees go to the right, head to the left. Inhale to return. When you've done even amounts to both sides, return to the centre. Hands can rest on your belly or they can be alongside your body. Now you can either keep your legs in the bent position or bring the soles of your feet together and splay your knees outward. Watch that doesn't go into your back. Lengthen the shoulders away from your hips. And again, hands can be on your belly or alongside your body. And just take a nice deep breath in through your nose. And hard the breath out, letting go. Remember, if this isn't suitable for your hips, then you could just remain with your legs in the bent position. And as you rest here for a few breaths, letting go, take a moment to thank yourself for putting in this time for your self-care. And mentally repeating after me in your mind, I am strong, I am healthy. I send my cells, all my body systems, my whole being, I send love and gratitude. I thank my body for everything it does every single day, 24/7. And if you wish to do a longer relaxation, once again, just go to the YouTube channel Yoga Essentials and Wellness, and there is a relaxation that I recorded at the end of one of the classes that I do. And that's all for today, and may love and peace be with you. Namaste.